What's up? My name is Ken Dumbo, the MC with the sauce. Don't forget to subscribe to JQ.
But now, I want to run you through the issue of Chilufya Masebo. So, like I've said, Chilufya Masebo is at the center of all this. She's at the genesis of it, and she's at the center of this as well. It's not that she's out of this. No. Now, why do I say that? Firstly, this story, we need to understand it from where it is coming from. So allow me to really just walk you through where this thing started from and where it is, so that you understand. Because some of you are trying to wrap up your heads to find out, to say, where is the corruption? Where is the corruption? How is it that this? How is it that we found ourselves, with containers, at a private depot, with medicines that are risked to have what can I say? That risk to have gone bad, because I also want to emphasize that those drugs should not be given to people. I want to emphasize this. I don't know what we are going to do, but we should not allow Chilufya Masebo to let the Zambian people consume those drugs. I want to emphasize this. I don't know what we are going to do, but we should do whatever we can to not to allow the ministry to give those medicines to people. And I will explain that. Now, let me give you the story, how it has evolved. So you see, when UPND came into power, Munkonke Mwino Sana, please try to follow me very well and follow me with an open mind. And my network, I don't know if it is going to allow, but I will want to open the phone line so that if you want to ask something, you can call in and ask your questions. So this issue goes back to when UPND took over power in 2021. If you remember, when UPND took over power in 2021, they criminalized most of the suppliers of different things to government. They criminalized all those that were working with government. The suppliers, most of them were criminalized, particularly in those who are supplying drugs, those who are supplying agriculture input, those who are supplying fuel. They criminalized these people, and UPND was in a hurry to get rid of everybody that was supplying to government, because according to them, those were PF, and that's how PF was making money, and blah blah and blah blah. We know the story. So in trying to kick out these people, they thought that some of these things you can easily go into a shop and buy. So they didn't realize the complexity of procuring some of these things. Or in other words, if you like, they didn't fully appreciate the procurement processes of government. They didn't understand. They thought it is just easy. I mean, you want fertilizer, you simply, since you are government, especially run by Hakainde Hichilema, you just call a company or this country, bring fertilizer, and fertilizer will come. You want medicine, or because we are Hakainde Hichilema's government, okay, call for this and the medicine will come. And so on and so forth. As a result, we had a problem of shortages. We had shortages in a number of things because of this I don't know what is the word, imprudent way of doing things by the UPND government. We had problems. Some of these problems are the problems that we are facing now. Some of the problems that we are facing now are as a result of the bad decision and the ignorant way of handling procurement when the UPND came into power. Don't be cheated that no, we are having problems today, shortages of meal and the increase of prices is as a result of the drought. No, it is because of the decisions that were made immediately UPND came into power. Because immediately they came into power, for example, we had issues with fertilizer. If you remember, fertilizer was delayed. And even when it was delayed, even when it came, people did not get enough fertilizer as a result of those procurement glitches that they had. In the first year, particularly 2022, 2023, the UPND bought, very expensive farming input because they did it at the end of, when it was too late. They thought they would find, the farming input locally and easily, but they couldn't. At the end of the day, they had to fall back to the very people that they said they are criminals, we can't deal with them. And they bought it at an expensive price. And of course, it was not enough. So the people had to share fertilizer, in buckets or paripatuma meda, as we were calling them. So that was a start of the problem that has matured now, where we have now high prices of fuel, high prices of mini meal, and of course shortages of this. So it is not so much the drought. Yes, the drought is there, but the main issue is that where we were coming from, we were already stressed. Then the drought came in, it even made things worse. So that is on the farming input, and that is another story which we can talk about later on. But I just spoke about that to make you understand, even with the issue of medicines. Medicines was also one of those issues where, the people that were supplying medicines, they were labeled as, criminals who should not deal with the government of the angels of the President Hakainde Hichilema. But unfortunately, as they were doing that, we started having shortages in our hospitals. If you remember, we had serious shortages of medicines because of these procurement problems that the UPND created. And of course, along with that, when they were getting rid of these people that were supplying to government or to PF, as it were, it was not just about them getting rid of criminals. It was also about them bringing in people who can give them something. Because those about PF, PF, okay, or they could not trust them, in terms of the corruption that they wanted. So they wanted new people so that so one thing, they're saying, no, we were getting rid of criminals. But really, it was more about removing these people that worked with PF so that they can find their own people. This is a fact. They wanted to have their own people so that they can also be enjoying the corruption that that PF was enjoying, or at least in their perception, PF was enjoying. So this is what it was about. It was about removing these people. We find people that we can eat with. And this is a fact because some of these suppliers, some of us, we have met them. Some of us, we have met them, and they have explained clearly. They have told us, they have shown us evidence of how Chilufya Masebo was soliciting, for kickbacks. But Chilufya Masebo cannot stand up today and lift her hands to say, no, she's free of corruption. She never solicited for anything in her position as a minister for people to supply things to government. Do we know? Where by Chilufya Masebo clearly asked for things, and when they didn't give Chilufya Masebo, even blacklisted them or cancelled contracts and so on and so forth. So in that quest, Chilufya Masebo went to Egypt. She went to Egypt. That was in 2022. 2022, Chilufya Masebo went to Egypt. She went to Egypt with a team, and this team, the intention was to go and buy medicines. Okay, buy medicines. Now, she didn't just from nowhere wake up and say, let me go to Egypt. No, there were some people, these tenderpreneurs, or if you like, lobbyists, who lobbied Chilufya Masebo to say, you know what, you can buy medicines from Egypt. We can buy medicines from Egypt. But this is not the Egyptian government coming to the Ministry of Health to say, we have got medicines in Egypt. No. This is somebody who had contacts with some of the Egyptian pharmaceutical industries, okay, in Egypt. So this person is a lobbyist, or if you like, a tenderpreneur from Egypt with connections to the Egyptian pharmaceutical industry, coming to Zambia, talking to somebody linked to Chilufya Masebo, and this person told Chilufya Masebo to say, we can go and buy medicines from Egypt. Now, tell me, do you think such a person, a tenderpreneur, would come to Zambia and talk to Chilufya Masebo to say, let's go and buy medicines from Egypt? You can buy medicines from Egypt for nothing, because this person is a philanthropist, because this person loves Zambia that much? Can we be that naive to think that such a person would come to Zambia and ask the minister to say, let's go to Egypt to buy medicines for nothing because he loves Zambia? No. This person is a person who was acting like a salesman on behalf of some pharmaceutical companies in Egypt, and definitely he was going to be paid. And this is where the corruption is being born. This person is not an Egyptian government, is a salesperson coming to Zambia soliciting for market. Soliciting for market because they have heard that this Zambian government is looking for medicines. Okay, is looking for medicines. They are stressed. They are looking for medicine. So he comes in. He sees an opportunity. The minister, we can go to Egypt and buy medicines. Okay, and of course, we all know that such a person would not come for free. He was coming because he was going to get commissions. And these commissions are what enticed Chilufya Masebo to quickly pack up her bags, get a few people, and they went to Egypt. So don't be cheated. Don't be cheated that no, it is just a Zambian government, like Chilufya Masebo wants to put it, wanting to procure medicine. No. What if I ask you, we already have countries, traditional countries, if I may call it that way, traditional countries where we get medicines. We have India, we have Asia, we have Europe, where we get medicines. So what do you think made Chilufya Masebo to decide to abandon all these traditional suppliers of medicine to go to Egypt? Because we don't buy medicines from Egypt. And Egypt, for that matter, is not one of those countries that has been approved by ZAMRA to be the suppliers of medicines. So what do you think made Chilufya Masebo to make that decision to say, yes, let's go to Egypt. If not an inducement that was offered by this salesperson. You see? So there was something that was promised to Chilufya Masebo. Chilufya Masebo saw something that they could make. And Chilufya Masebo went and sold this to President Hakainde Hichilema. She went and sold this to Hakainde Hichilema in the name of to say, we have got people that can supply us medicines and, you know, they can also help the party. She used these terminologies. They can help the party. And President Hakainde Hichilema agreed to that. With President Hakainde Hichilema blessing her to say, it's okay, you can go to Egypt in spite of whatever impediments that are there in terms of procurement, in terms of approval, it's okay, you can go to Egypt. So Chilufya Masebo loaded people. She loaded, of course, the people from the pharmaceutical, from the procurement, PS Magwede, Zamsa, and what is this? ZPPA. They went to Egypt with a view of going there so that they buy medicines and they bring. But mark my words, I'm saying that number one, Egypt was not one of those countries that was approved for Zambia to be buying medicines. Then number two, the procurement procedures were being ignored. So that's how they went to Egypt. When they went to Egypt, they got some kind of, what can I say? Now, this, I don't know, I thought I charged this phone. Where is my charger for this one? Oh, I think I can do this. So, at this point, who was the PS? The PS was Dr. Magwede. If you remember the issue of Dr. Magwede, at this point, the person who was the minister, who was the PS admin, because there were two admins, there were two PSs at that time. There was Magwede, who was PS admin. And then there was Professor Kasonka, who was technical. So in 2022, Chilufya Masebo goes to Egypt to procure medicines with a team of people that they went with. When they reached there, everything went well, and they agreed, oh, okay, they are going to buy medicines worth $60 million. They came back. And they thought, because yes, they saw the medicines there, and coming back, they thought it is just a matter of saying to Minister of Finance, hey, Minister of Finance, we have found medicine in Egypt. Can you send $60 million? But PF Nkulukusa, at that point, PF Nkulukusa said, oh, at PS Nkulukusa, at Minister of Finance, what is this? What is this? Treasury, Secretary to the Treasury advised to say, look, we cannot just send medicine, we cannot just send money to Egypt that medicine should come. No, it doesn't work out like that. They need to be a contract. They need to be, a proper, well outlined procurement process that satisfy for such a transaction. So that money could not be sent. And when it could not be sent, Chilufya Masebo was not even in the country, got to know about this, and she was very frustrated. But the technocrats, including Magwede, said, look, there has to be, we have to fulfill the public procurement, public procurement requirements according to the act. Because government does not just do things anyhow. Government operates within the confines of the law. So everything that you're doing in government, you must follow the law. So the law was not fulfilled. And therefore, the people at the Ministry of Finance found it difficult to send the money that side. But Chilufya Masebo, excited with the money that she was going to get out of this, the kickback that she was going to get out of this, she didn't bother about the procedures. Hakainde Hichilema was also frustrated. Meanwhile, medicines in the hospitals are running out. So they were very upset, very, very upset with the technocrats. And if you remember President Hakainde Hichilema, Kuma First Kulia, he kept on referring to the law. No, these, processes, these bureaucracy and whatever, they were very frustrated. They were very frustrated because of this kind of things. But they were told, look, government operates within the laws, the confines of the law. Everything that you do must be found in the law because this money belongs to the public. So they were very frustrated. And what do they do now? Meanwhile, Magwede decides to engage some local suppliers, okay? Local suppliers, some private suppliers, if you like, okay? He tries to mobilize these people so that they can respond to the emergency that was being created by the fact that we didn't have medicines now in hospitals. So Magwede started lining up some people that could supply medicines because that Egypt deal was really failing in many ways. Number one, like I've said, it was not approved. Egypt was not approved to be the supplier of medicines. Number two, the procurement processes were failing by far. So Magwede, looking at the need, the emergency that was being created, quickly start mobilizing people to supply medicines quickly to Zambia. And as he's doing that, Chilufya Masebo comes to know about it. And Chilufya Masebo is very upset. And this is where the drift or the tension between Chilufya Masebo and the PS Magwede started. Because Chilufya Masebo, she had, created this channel of getting medicine from Egypt with, a huge kickback that she was going to get. Then somehow the technocrats, they say, no, we can't do this. Then Magwede start looking for people now to supply medicines according to the no more channels, because in supplying medicines, people have to be registered. People have to be registered and approved to be suppliers of medicines. Okay? Pharmaceuticals they have to be registered and they have to be approved to be supplying medicines. So we are having a need, and this Egypt nonsense, this Egypt deal is not working. Magwede tried to get in medicines. Chilufya Masebo comes to learn about it. She's upset. Some of you think that no, Magwede was fired because of whatever. No. Magwede was not fired because of anything. There was no corruption. And for your own information, Magwede is not in court. Magwede has not been arrested. And yet when he was fired, it was like Magwede was corrupt. No, Magwede was not corrupt. Yes, he was lining up these people He could have been expecting a commission, but at least he was trying to do things within the law, within what is prescribed by the act. That was what he was trying to do. Whilst Chilufya Tayali, what he was trying to do was not in the books. So anyway, that is how we had that problem. Of course, there is that deal also that came from South Africa, where there was a company that was supposed to build hospitals and whatever. Anyway, at the end of the day, Chilufya Masebo goes to President Hakainde Hichilema and badmouth Magwede to say Magwede, is trying to cut deals with these companies, and frustrate the Egypt deal. That is how Magwede was relieved. Magwede was relieved because of this. Magwede was relieved because of the Egyptian scandal. I am explaining this so that you understand where it is coming from. Magwede was removed because of this Egyptian scandal, because Chilufya Masebo said Magwede is standing on the way of us buying medicines from Egypt. Magwede was put aside. A number of other people were also removed in trying to make sure that this deal from Egypt succeeds. So Magwede is out and is one of the biggest. There are other people that were also removed. And remember, I said now there were two PSS. So now they only remained with Professor Kasonga. Professor Kasonga was not also in agreement with this deal. They saw it to say, no, this is just wrong. And Professor Kasonga, these are old people that have worked in government and they know these procedures. So he was very reluctant, and it frustrated Chilufya Masebo. Chilufya Masebo was not happy. So they come up with a team now. They come up with a team. Okay, you are saying we have got legal issues. Since we have legal issues, who is supposed to approve? Oh, Zamra. Okay, Zamra is the one who's supposed to approve where we should buy medicine. Okay, Zamra, come here. Boom. Who is supposed to buy medicine? Oh, Zamsa. Zamsa, come here. Boom. Who is supposed to draw the contract? Oh, Ministry of Justice. Ministry of Justice, come here. Boom. Who is supposed to approve the procurement, the public procurement? Who is supposed to do that? ZPPA. ZPPA, come here. Boom. Who is supposed to be, medicines are supposed to be bought from some private companies. Okay? So somebody from the private sector, boom. And they come up with a group, and they fly to Egypt with a view of going to do whatever they can do in Egypt to make sure that in Egypt they normalize the legal glitches, they normalize the public procurement glitches, they normalize the issue of approving, to who should supply medicines to Zambia. They normalize that, and of course, Ministry of Finance as well, so that everything is done. So they packaged these people, and they went to Egypt. And when they went to Egypt there, the mission was to say they normalize, they bend, they work 24/7 to normalize the procurement processes, to sort out the legal issues, everything. So that at the end of the day, as they are in Egypt there, they should have a contract. If it is a contract that is needed, that they should have that contract and say, here is a contract to buy medicines. And here is an order to buy medicines. And then just phone Nkulukusa to say, Nkulukusa, can you send the money? Now, when they reached Egypt, they had a problem. The problem which was there was that, Chilufya Masebo talks about government to government. There is nothing like government to government procurement. Government does not do business. There is no government that says, here we have medicines, come and buy. No government does that. There is no government to government. Even us in Zambia, we are selling copper. Our major export is copper. It is not the Zambian government that sells copper. It is the individual companies, mining companies that are in Zambia that sell copper. That is how it is done everywhere in the world. So this nonsense of saying government to government comes in the incompetence that I'm talking about. It is incompetent, it is ignorant for somebody to say government to government. There is nothing like government to government. There is nothing. Government does not do business. Government does not sell things. Government does not sell vehicles. Government does not sell medicines. Government does not sell fertilizer. Even in Russia, if you go to Russia, you want to buy fertilizer, Putin will say, yes, we will sell you fertilizer, but it is not the Russian government that is going to sell you fertilizer. It is the individual companies in that country that are going to sell you. So there is nothing like government to government. Even where you're dealing with the fuel, for example, in the Middle East, it is not Iran. The commerce minister of Iran who comes up and say, here we are selling you. No. It is the different companies that are in Iran where you buy. That's what happens. So this nonsense of saying government to government, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. It is not government to government. There is nothing like government to government, no. So these people faced the glitch there. First of all, the glitch that they failed was the issue of the legal requirement. The lady from Justice said, on what basis are we buying this? Where is the contract? That is how they pulled an MOU which was signed by Edgar Lungu's government back then. There was an MOU. Edgar Lungu, when he went to Egypt, they signed an MOU to be getting medicines from Egypt. But it didn't materialize because they were trying to normalize these processes. Okay? So this is, if you want to see the difference in terms of, Edgar Lungu and the HH, this is one example. Because Edgar Lungu, when they went to Egypt, they signed an MOU that Egypt should be supplying medicines to Zambia. But they didn't act imprudently like the way Chilufya Masebo did. They first wanted to normalize all these issues, the legal issues, the procurement issues. They wanted to normalize that. So they pulled that. And if you remember, Chilufya Masebo even said, we found an MOU. There was an MOU. But look, only ignorant people would buy that kind of argument. What is an MOU? An MOU is simply an intention. It's simply an intention. It is not even a contract. You are simply expressing to say, we would desire, we would like to do business or to cooperate or whatever it is. It is just an intention. But Chilufya Masebo, when she was talking back then, to respond to some of us who were talking about it, made it look like that was a contract. And some fools came even here on social media to challenge us to say, no, there was an MOU and then MOU was signed by Edgar Lungu. No. It is simply an intention. And so that is what they pulled out in Egypt by this team, to say there is this MOU. And that MOU, anyone can challenge me. It had even expired because an MOU also has a time frame, in which it should be executed. And it had expired. The dates on that had expired. I want you to understand the corruption. It had expired. That MOU had expired. And when it had expired, when Chilufya Masebo learned it has expired, they said, backdate it, panel beat it, modify it, change it. Now, if you are changing an MOU, which was signed by some other parties, it has to be rewritten, isn't it? You have to redo it with the people that signed it. But according to Chilufya Masebo, they did not engage the people that the PF had signed the MOU with. Instead, they simply modified and changed the dates. They simply changed the dates so that it looks like it is authentic. Yes, somebody saying an MOU was 2017. And it had expired by the time that they were going there. It had expired. And all they did is to change what was there, to put a current, so that they bring it back to life. It had died, and they brought it to life simply because they wanted it to fit they wanted it to fit into what they wanted. But that MOU really is neither here nor there. Okay? So anyway, they bulldozed their way. They bulldozed their way with this man, Dr. Chiengi, Roma Chiengi, this one who is the presidential advisor on health, Kuliba Hakainde Ichilema. And this is where, because some of you will say, but where is Hakainde Ichilema? In that team, the special advisor to President Hakainde Ichilema was there, and he was acting like the leading team. And by the way, this one was supposed to be headed by, a PS, a permanent secretary. But Professor Kasonga refused, because Professor Kasonga knew that this is all nonsense. He could see the intention, the real intention. He knew that the intention here was not about procuring medicine. The intention was oiling their pockets. And he was not part of it. And Vachiengi Katinganiwa Professor Nganwana, he was the one who was the leading team. And this is where I am saying Hakainde Ichilema was part of this. Because how did his advisor go with this team? Because this team was actually headed by the office of the president. Anyway, they did whatever they did there and made it that medicines will be procured from Egypt. And they were sending now phones, send money here. And of course, it didn't happen. They came back, but later on, and when they came back, some pharmaceutical companies in Egypt complained. They complained. They said this is disadvantaging some companies in Egypt. How was it disadvantaging them? How it was disadvantaging? It was disadvantaging some of the companies, and they complained because the Zambian government contacted what is this? The Unified Procurement Authority, UPA, of Egypt. Now, in Egypt, the Egyptian government procures medicines using these institutions that they have created, Unified Procurement Agency, UPA, authority rather. So, and these are the people that buys medicines from the private companies. Okay, so this is the Egyptian government. Egyptian government doesn't buy medicines directly from the people. It has created an authority which buys medicines from the people, from the companies, and takes into the Egyptian hospitals. So, when Hon Masebo was saying government to government, they said, of course, as a government, we cannot, it doesn't happen. It's not anywhere there. So they said, instead, you can buy medicines using through this UPA, okay, of Egypt. You can buy medicine through this, and then they will take it to Zambia. Now, here comes a problem. That UPA is as good as ZAMSA. ZAMSA buys medicines on behalf of the Zambian government to supply in hospitals. But let's question ourselves. let's ask this question. Is ZAMSA a business entity whereby ZAMSA will buy medicines and sell it somewhere else? Is that the purpose that it was created? If you look at the act, does it really stipulate this kind of operations? No. No. ZAMSA does not buy medicines to be sold to another government. It doesn't. It doesn't. Even now, it's the same thing with that UPA. That UPA does not buy medicines to resell. No. So here is the first problem. Because those people that they're saying, no, these people are the ones who are going to buy medicines and send to Zambia. That institution does not buy medicines to resell or send to other countries. It doesn't. So we have the number one problem there. And what is the problem? Some of you may not understand. An institution that is not created to resell or to export medicines will have issues in terms of, all these logistical challenges, logistical procedures. There will be problems because that is not why they were created. They were not created to buy medicines, and package them and send them to another country. That is not what they were created for. So as much as this is being looked at to say, no, this institution was supposed to buy medicines and send to Zambia, really, it was just bogus. It was just bogus. It is those people who came to Zambia who were buying medicines and sending them to Zambia. Not really this institution as it were, because this institution was not created for that. And this is one of the problems that the people in Egypt raised. Because they knew that the people that were buying medicines for Zambia, they were buying medicines from people that they knew. Because of the corruption, they were not buying medicines, from reputable organizations, as it were, in Egypt. They were buying from companies that they knew. And that is what raised issues in Egypt. And that is how I came to know about it. Because the companies in Egypt, they complained. And they wanted somebody who can blow this thing up in Zambia. And that is how I brought out those issues. And of course, many of you said, no, blah, 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 blah. Even Chilufya Masebo refused. But it is because of the corruption that it created in Egypt that people in Egypt complained. It is because of the way things were going to be done that people complained. And some of us came to know about it. So corruption is there. And who is at the center of it? Chilufya Masebo. And the State House. And I'm saying State House because the representative of President Hakainde Hichilema was part of this. They came back and somehow they bulldozed their way and they sent money and the medicines were bought. The medicines were bought through these, tenderpreneurs, through these lobbyists who were also buying medicines in a manner that those people, the pharmaceutical companies in Egypt, were not happy. Meanwhile, this side, the technocrats were very much against it. A number of people were very much against it, including Dr. Kasonka. And fast forward, we now have these medicines coming into Zambia. Now, these medicines are coming into Zambia. Number one, the procurement process in Egypt is not very clear. The companies that are selling, that are sending these medicines, really, there is an issue, there is a compromise there. So, this is how now they are coming into Zambia because there is no proper process. For example, like what I'm trying to say is that, the companies, if you imagine it was a company from Egypt that is sending medicines to Zambia, do you think that company will we will just come and dump medicines and forget. No. They would want to make sure that, everything is properly done. They would want to account for their medicines properly. But because of the dubious ways that these medicines are coming into Zambia, so they are landing into Zambia like, who is supposed to really do what and what? Anyway, of course, they're supposed to go to ZAMSA. Now, what is happening at ZAMSA? Let me go back a little bit. When there was this issue of saying, when the first time Chilufya Masebo went there and she couldn't, get the medicines and there was a problem, the director general who was at ZAMSA was fired, and came in Mwetwa. Billy Mwetwa. So Billy Mwetwa, when there was also that problem, together with Magwede trying to say, let's look for local companies and whatever to buy, Billy also came up with some policies at ZAMSA to try and fill up the shortages of medicines. Okay, so Billy came up with some policies for for Zambian local pharmaceuticals to supply medicines to the government, and he even went to some banks, because some of the challenges which were there was that, if they give the Zambian contractor to buy medicines, some of them, they were not having the capital, okay, to buy the medicines and resupply quickly. So Billy actually negotiated with the bank. I don't know which bank he did negotiate with, such that if somebody is given a contract to supply medicines and they don't have the money, they would go to the bank, borrow the money, supply the medicines, and then ZAMSA would pay the bank. You see, I want to say, in my previous discussion, when I was talking about this, I spoke against Billy Mwetwa, because there were too many direct procurement or direct bidding procurement, whereby there was no tender and whatever. I complained about a number of issues, and I want to tell you that Billy worked on those issues, some of those issues that were raised by myself and other stakeholders. Billy addressed them, and today Billy is not at ZAMSA, but I want to commend Billy wherever he is. That I've never had an opportunity to come and praise you. No, but I actually did speak about it. When the banks came in, I spoke about it. But I want to reiterate what I said, that Billy really turned things around at ZAMSA. He turned things around at ZAMSA. But he turned things around, with the traditional suppliers, the already registered suppliers of medicines. These are the people that he wanted to work with, and he also wanted to work with Zambians, not just foreigners. And those who didn't have money, he went ahead to say they can borrow money from the banks. So Billy did very well. And he stamped out the corruption that was there. He told suppliers that the suppliers should not be going to see him unless there is something that they're discussing which is serious. But he didn't want suppliers to go there. He wanted, to operate, in a transparent manner, free from corruption. Billy, you did your best. You did your best. And Billy was reluctant to this Egypt nonsense. He was reluctant. He couldn't sign it. He couldn't sign that order, which Chilufya Masebo so much wanted. And because Billy could not satisfy, could not respond to what Chilufya Masebo wanted, Billy was fired. Billy was removed. Billy was removed. And that is how this Victor Nyasulu came in. Victor Nyasulu was an accountant in there. So, and remember he was part of the UPND alliance. He stood as a mayor. He stood with me as a mayor. He came out number 2. I was number 3. So he was there as a politician. He's a politician. And that is the person that Chilufya Masebo convinced to sign that deal. And Victor Nyasulu signed that deal for the medicines to be coming from Egypt. So Nyasulu scratched the back, in other ways, of Chilufya Masebo. Because Chilufya Masebo, they had already eaten money out of, that deal. They were already given commissions and whatever. So they were under pressure because they were already paid. Their cut was already given. So they were under pressure to make sure that it succeeds. But there were people that were blocking it. And all those who were blocking it, they were removed, including director, clinical, director, whatever. A number of directors were removed because of this deal. Because Chilufya Masebo wanted it to work. And look at the number of people that were fired. I can talk about, Magwede was fired, Billy was fired, there were some other people, a clinical director, clinical care, whatever, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Health were fired. A number of people were fired just for these medicines to come. And what was the reasoning? The reasoning was that, no, we need to fill up medicines in our hospitals. There is an emergency. That was the issue. There is an emergency. There is an emergency. So whoever stood in the way was fired, was removed. Whoever stood in the way was removed so that the medicines can come. And Chilufya Masebo, empowered by State House, was able to do all these things. A number of people have been fired so that that medicine can come. And Nyasulu is one of those fools who appended the signature that the medicine should start coming. And the medicine started coming. Now, here is the question. How is it possible that with all that was done, with all the hula baloo that was done, with people being fired, that these medicines should come? And Chilufya Masebo is on top of things. Chilufya Masebo is in front. Is not allowing anyone to be unaware in getting the medicines from Egypt. Because there's an emergency. Medicines have to come from Egypt. How is it, Zambians? How is it that now these medicines will come and these medicines would be marooned at a private depot? How? Can you see the sense? Chilufya Masebo was really, she fought tooth and nail. Had anyone who stood in the way removed, fired. How is it that today Chilufya Masebo can stand up in Parliament and tell us that medicines came in January and they didn't know? She didn't know. Zambians, can we be that naive? Can we be that stupid? That after fighting so hard to bring the medicines, by Chilufya Masebo, getting rid of anyone who stood in her way, the medicines would come and she doesn't know about it, and the medicines would go and languish at a private property. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Do you think that makes sense? How? All of a sudden, Chilufya Masebo now, the medicine has come, and all of a sudden she doesn't know. All of a sudden she doesn't know. 8 months, medicine has come in the country, she doesn't know. Does that make sense to you? She's the one that started this. She's the protagonist. She's the proponent of this thing. How is it that medicines would arrive in the country after fighting so hard, getting rid of people, and at the end of the day, she doesn't know that medicine has arrived? Does that make sense? No, it doesn't make sense at all. It doesn't make sense. But what is the issue? How did this happen? How this happened now, let me tell you. So, when the medicines started coming, when they came, remember, Biri is now removed. Nyasulu is in. Nyasulu has saved Chilufya Masebo. Nyasulu has done what these others refused to do. So Nyasulu feels so powerful. He's so powerful. Hello, I've saved you. Without me, this deal wouldn't have gone. Okay? So, Nyasulu feels so powerful. That's why when he went to Zamsa, Nyasulu felt and he was untouchable. He made things upside down at Zamsa because he knew he had the backing of the minister, he had the backing of State House. Remember, State House is part of this. So who could touch Nyasulu? So with the powers that Nyasulu had, he also swung into action to also make his own money. Because Nyasulu was not part of the people that went to Egypt. He was not part of all these people that got oiled. Because Chilufya Masebo and others, they got oiled for this. But Nyasulu is coming at the end to just sign. So Tani Lekwendarama, he has no cut. He has no cut. So he has to make his own money now. He has to make his own money. What does Nyasulu do? Nyasulu procures medicines, particularly IV fluids, because most of this bulk of this deal is the IV fluids. He procures IV fluids, 300 containers from Yashi Pharmaceuticals. Nyasulu procures 300 containers from Yashi Pharmaceuticals with the value of almost about 3 million. And why is Nyasulu doing this? Nyasulu is doing this because Nyasulu knows that medicines are coming from Egypt, but he still goes to Yashi and contracts them. Why is contracting them? Because he wants to get a cut. The Egyptian, whatever, he signed it, but he didn't chew anything. So he orders, medicines from Yashi and Vicky. Which companies? I mean, there are two different companies, but basically they are owned by the same people. And these people, they give Nyasulu some kickbacks because Chilufya Masebo has eaten money from the Egyptian deal. Victor Nyasulu, he wants to also eat. He contracts Yashi and Vicky to supply the same medicines, especially the IV fluids. In the pretext of, you remember in January, we had cholera. So yes, we need this. And so Nyasulu uses that excuse to buy a lot of these IV fluids. Meanwhile, we have IV fluids which have started arriving in the country from Egypt. But Nyasulu is not interested in them. He's not interested. He's interested where he has gotten the money. And he's the boss there. So, the tracts that he is receiving, Nyasulu, he has to justify where he has eaten. So he's arriving trucks which are coming from Yashi, he's receiving them. Trucks which are coming from Egypt, he's saying, these I'm not interested. Find somewhere where you can take them. And this is how you have these containers marooned in a private institution, because there is what, if you like, a double procurement of the same medicines. And since Nyasulu has eaten from Yashi, he is receiving medicines from Yashi. These ones which are coming from Egypt, after all, but Sylvia, there's no need. They can go somewhere else. And I'm saying, they have already eaten and they are not interested. Because, look, if they were fighting to sort out the emergency, how is it that Chilufya Masebo, if indeed Chilufya Masebo, because I said Chilufya Masebo is corrupt, if she's not corrupt, and if they wanted to sort out the emergency, how is it that medicines which were bought for emergency would land in our country and they don't know about it? But Chilufya doesn't know. If Chilufya's intention was to bring the medicines for Zambians, and she fought her way, how is it that the medicines are arriving in the country and she doesn't know about it? It is because the intention was not about the medicines. It is because the intention was not about the emergency. The intention was about getting the money. And since they ate the money, they didn't bother. This is how corrupt Chilufya Masebo and the Ethiopian government is. They ate, they were given money. What happened thereafter, they didn't care. They didn't care. That's all. They didn't care what happened because they had gotten their money. Nifida balanda tulio wikwite asontero bwali kumiromo na ikutakale. He's already satisfied. They were already given money. What's the bother about these medicines? They don't bother. Meanwhile, Nyasulu at Zamsa is saying, what do I have to do with this? I need to make my own money. So he's entertaining the private company that where he has eaten. And that is the medicine that is receiving. The medicine that came from Egypt, they don't care. This is the issue. This is the issue. Corruption breeding corruption. But Chilufya Masebo didn't go to Egypt with the agency of supplying medicines. It was the agency of putting money in their pockets. And they got their money. And when they got their money, they didn't care about the medicines. Nyasulu also is not interested in the Egyptian whatever. He's interested in this new business that he has started. This is what happened. This is how you found those whatever marooned at that place. From Egyptian side, nobody is taking responsibility. Nobody. Because, I mean, it is just some bogus guys putting up medicines, putting them in a container and sending them. Where they go, what happens, they don't care. They have also made their money. But Chilufya Masebo, she has also made money. They don't care. But who suffers? Who suffers? Out of all this nonsense, who suffers? It's the Zambian people. It's the Zambian people. Number one, we have lost money. We have lost money. Number two, which is even very important, very, very important, is that we risk our lives if we consume that medicine. We risk our lives. Zambians risk losing their lives. People will die if they consume that medicine. And I'm saying this because, look, according to the little research that I've done, medicines are supposed to be delivered within 2 months. Wherever you are buying them, by the time they are put in a container, they must reach their destination. They should not stay more than 2 months in a container. That is what I've found out. That within 2 months, medicines, wherever they are packed from in the world, they're supposed to reach their destination within 2 months. Why? Because containers, especially particularly those kind of containers, they cannot regulate the temperature. They cannot regulate the temperature. Medicines would go bad in those containers. So that's why they want them to be, to be disposed of or to reach their destination within 2 months. Not to be disposed of. Medicines are made like, it would have a 3 years, like the IV fluids, they would have 3 years lifespan. But in a container, they should not stay more than 2 months. Because medicines have got a way that there's a way that you look after medicines. We all know most of the times when you buy medicines, the temperature is very important. They talk about, keeping medicines in a certain temperature. We know about that. So in the container, they shouldn't last more than 2 months. They should have reached wherever they are going, and they should be kept in a certain in a certain environment suitable for keeping medicines. Now tell me, these medicines, from wherever they were coming from, we don't know how long they took for them to move from Egypt to Zambia. We don't know how long they took. And then they arrived in Zambia in January, and they have been stored mukasuba just in the containers. Are you telling me those medicines are okay? Are you telling me those medicines, in as much as when you open them, you might see a expiry date? Expiry date might even be saying 2026, for argument's sake. But even if the expiry date is saying 2026, but if you consider in the manner in which they have been stored, do you think that medicine is okay? And these are the issues that I was talking about, to say, even if Chilufya Masebo was saying, no, the issue is under investigation, these are some of the questions that members of parliament would have asked Chilufya Masebo on. At least these questions they should have asked her, to say, now, you are saying ZNS is carrying these medicines, taking them to Zamsa, after staying for 8 months there. After staying for 7-8 months, now ZNS is carrying them, taking them to Zamsa. From Zamsa, where would they go? And what happens to the people that are going to intake those medicines? This is a risk, and this is where, when they say corruption kills people, this will kill people. People got money, made money out of it, and they didn't care about the medicines themselves, because it is not about the people, it was about themselves. So now we have a risk, because Chilufya Masebo wanted to get a kickback and she got paid. The medicines that came, she didn't care. And now these medicines, for them, because now they are scared to say, if we don't give them to the people, people will complain. But my brothers and sisters, we would rather not take those medicines than take those medicines and risk our lives. We would rather lose money. Apa, we have lost money. And this is where I'm saying that Chilufya Masebo has booked herself for prosecution. Because Zambians have lost money. We have lost money here. The money that we are talking about, this is your money. That's my money. The taxes we pay. That is the money we are talking about. And in this instance, we have lost that money. But I'm saying we would rather lose the money than lose lives. If we are going to follow, because Chilufya Masebo wants to cover her face, okay? They will take these medicines into the hospitals so that people can take them, so that they can say, no, we bought medicines and people use them. Unfortunately, if you have taken a person in the hospital, A person is receiving medicines, but they still die. It is these kind of situations. Because the medicines that they are being given, it is compromised medicines. This is compromised medicines which Zambians should not allow to go in hospitals. So as Chilufya Masebo is saying, the ZNS is carrying those trucks, taking them to wherever. Can those trucks stop? Can those trucks stop? Let not those trucks take the medicines into our hospitals. But why collection them when you have seen the expiry date? Look, the issue of the expiry date might not arise. Listen to what I'm talking about here. The issue of expiry date might not be a safe measure, because the expiry date can even say, yes, expiry date is, for argument's sake, 2025. 2025. But this medicine that you are consuming today has been on the sun for 8 months, at least for the time that we know. Because if you look at from where they are coming from and whatever, you can't guarantee the efficacy of these medicines. These medicines has even turned into poison now. Because look, when heat is applied on anything, there is a chemical reaction. On anything, when heat is applied, there is a chemical reaction. And medicines are chemical. So when heat is applied on them, they turn into something else. And you can't know what that something else is. It might be as well be poison. So those medicines should not be consumed. ZNS is carrying them, taking them where? Those medicines should not go to people. Let us lose the money. Chilufya Masebo, it's okay. But let us not lose lives. Don't fall by, the justification of Chilufya Masebo. There is no justification. Chilufya Masebo cannot say, no, I didn't know. No. She's the one that bulldozed these medicines to come into Zambia. She had people fired because of wanting to bring these medicines to Zambia. She labeled it an emergency. How is it that today Chilufya Masebo can say she didn't know? It is not possible. And then, what about Hakainde Hichilema himself? Where is his intelligence? Because like Bakabushi was trying to say, Hakainde Hichilema is so meticulous, is whatever. Meticulous. Meticulous, yeah? Because these people don't care. What they care for is money. When they have made the money, they just don't care. This is what is happening here. They don't care because for them, they made the money. That's it. They don't care. These people don't care. And this is an example. They made the money. They got their money. About the medicine, they don't care. And even now, these medicines, wherever they are going and how they are going to affect the people, they don't care. Inena mi papa tamwebena Zambia. Me, I'm just being a brother, and I love you. I mean, even a praise singer, me, I don't hate anyone. And I don't want people to die because of the corruption of Chilufya Masebo and Hakainde Hichilema. I don't want people to die. You will die because of their corruption, because you consume that medicine so that they can justify to say to Adile Temiti, we bought medicines and people took them. And yet those medicines, they were compromised. And they were compromised because of their corruption. If they had followed the right channel of buying medicines, we wouldn't have had this situation. Because even the medicines that this Nyasuru got from Yashi, they are not in the sun. They were not in the sun like these. Yashi is bringing medicines, and in Gabasangati, sometimes they don't offload. They have been told, sometimes they don't offload. But Yashi makes sure that they look after that medicine accordingly, properly. You see the difference? Yashi, came in dubiously with corruptly with Nyasulu, but at least their medicines, they are looking after them. You see the difference? You see why people like Professor Kasonka was against. You see why people like Magwede were against. They were against because of this kind of situation. If it was somebody who is supplying medicine, if it like the way Yashi is supplying medicine, because they deal in that, they make sure that their medicines are properly looked after. But because these ones were acquired corruptly without following procedures, that is why they were just left there. I'm sure you understand this point. If it was one private company in Egypt sending medicines into Zambia, they would have made sure that those medicines are not marooned like that. But it's because that side, there is just somebody who is just collecting medicine, put them in a container and send them. Somebody who is corruptly, engaged. This is why procedures are very important. This is your government. This is what has happened. I'm opening phone lines. If you have questions, you can call me and you can ask about this issue.
Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, J Cool, and turn on the notification bell, cause I'm gonna see you in the next video.